Jason sat in the dimly lit workshop of his small cabin on the outskirts of the mining colony. The air was thick with the smell of rust and old engine grease. The small, dusty planet had a quiet atmosphere, mostly inhabited by miners and engineers. Jason wasn't much for company, preferring the steady hum of machines to the noise of crowded taverns or bustling markets. His work was simple enough, repairing broken-down ships for the locals. He had a knack for fixing things, especially old technology. He often joked that if it had wires or bolts, he could make it work again. Today, however, he was dealing with something that wasn't quite ordinary. In front of him lay a broken-down vessel, its metal frame scarred by years of neglect. It had been abandoned for what seemed like centuries, but its mysterious origins intrigued Jason. The ship was unlike any he had seen before, with alien symbols etched into its hull. He had already spent hours fixing the engines, but there was still much to do. As Jason worked, the sound of footsteps echoed from behind him. He turned, expecting to see one of the miners who often visited his shop. But instead, he froze. A small, childlike alien creature stood in the doorway. It was no taller than a human child, with big, curious eyes that shone with an unnatural glow. Its skin was a pale shade of blue, and it had two small antennas on top of its head that twitched as it gazed at him. Jason's heart skipped a beat. He had seen alien creatures before, some hostile, others neutral, but nothing like this. The creature didn't seem threatening. In fact, it looked more curious than anything else. Slowly, it approached him,
its small feet barely making a sound on the metal floor.
"Hey there," Jason said, unsure of what else to say. He took a cautious step toward it, trying to gauge its intentions.
The alien didn't respond, but its eyes followed him as he moved. He noticed a small wound on its arm, a deep gash that looked like it had been caused by something sharp. Jason's instincts kicked in. He wasn't one to leave anyone or anything in pain. He reached for a med kit from his workbench and moved toward the creature.
"It's okay, I'm just gonna help you," he muttered softly, more to himself than to the alien. The creature flinched at his touch but didn't move away.
Jason gently applied the healing ointment to the wound, and for the first time, the creature let out a soft sound, a mix between a sigh and a purr. Its large eyes blinked slowly, almost in relief. Jason smiled. There. That should make it feel better. The alien continued to stare at him, its expression unreadable. It tilted its head slightly, as though studying him. Jason paused, wondering if it could understand him at all. "What are you doing here?" he asked, more to break the silence than to expect an answer. To his surprise, the alien responded in a series of clicks and high-pitched sounds. Jason frowned, trying to make sense of the noise. It didn't sound like any language he knew. But then the creature's eyes flashed with a faint glow, and for a brief moment, Jason felt something, a strange sense of connection. It was subtle at first, like a whisper in his mind. The thoughts were fragmented and unclear, but they seemed to be directed at him. He could feel the creature's emotions, fear, confusion, and something else, something softer, like hope. He stepped back, surprised by the sudden surge of emotions. It was as if the alien was trying to communicate with him, but not through words. Jason rubbed his temples, trying to shake off the feeling. It was strange, but it also intrigued him. You're lost, aren't you?" he asked, his voice soft. The alien blinked and made another sound. This time, it was more of a hum. It seemed to be acknowledging his words, though Jason couldn't be sure. He reached for his datapad, hoping to find some answers. He scanned the alien vessel in front of him, looking for any sign of identification. There were no markings or logos that could help. It was like the ship had appeared out of nowhere. Jason's curiosity only grew. Who was this alien? Where had it come from? And more importantly, how had it ended up here? He needed answers, but for now, he had to focus on helping this creature. He carefully lifted the alien into his arms, cradling it like a child. The creature didn't protest, and in fact it seemed to relax in his hold. As he made his way to the living area of his cabin, the alien gave a small noise, a soft, almost imperceptible sound that made Jason stop in his tracks. The creature blinked its large eyes at him, its gaze intense. Jason furrowed his brow. "What is it?" And then, in a voice that wasn't quite spoken but seemed to echo in his mind, the alien said the words that would change everything.
Mom likes you. Jason's heart raced as the words hit him like a thunderclap.
What did that mean? Why would it say something like that? He stared at the alien, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He hadn't expected this. Not in a million years. For a moment, everything around him seemed to blur. He shook his head, trying to clear the fog that had settled in his mind. Was he hearing things? Could the creature somehow understand his thoughts? The alien simply stared at him, its expression unchanging. Jason was left speechless, confused by the sudden and unexpected statement.
Mom likes me? Was it talking about someone else?
Someone important? Or was it a simple mistake, an accident in communication? Jason had no answers, but the question lingered in his mind, and as the alien settled into the makeshift bed he had prepared for it, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something much bigger than he could have imagined. Jason sat in the small kitchen of his cabin, staring at the cup of coffee in front of him. The warmth from the drink did little to calm his racing thoughts. His mind kept returning to the words the alien had spoken. "Mom likes you." The words echoed in his mind, louder than any noise from the outside world. He couldn't stop thinking about it. What did it mean? And why did the alien say that? The little creature, Z, as he had started calling it, was resting on the small cot in the corner of the room, its small body curled up in a ball. It looked peaceful now, but Jason knew better than to assume that meant everything was fine. There was something about this alien, something strange, that Jason couldn't quite place. It wasn't just the fact that Z was a completely unknown species. No. It was more than that. The connection, the strange feeling Jason had gotten when Z looked at him. That wasn't normal. Jason shook his head, trying to push the thoughts aside. He needed to focus. He had work to do. There were always repairs to finish, projects to get done, even on a quiet planet like this one. But Z's presence had changed everything. Jason couldn't ignore it. Whatever was happening with this creature, he had to get to the bottom of it. He stood up and walked over to the cot, looking down at the small, sleeping figure. Z's pale blue skin seemed to shimmer faintly in the low light of the room. Its large eyes were closed, and for the first time since Jason had found it, the alien looked completely at ease. It was hard to believe that this tiny, vulnerable creature could hold the secrets of an entire galaxy. As Jason watched it, he noticed something strange. The alien's small, antennae-like appendages on its head were twitching slightly, almost as if it were dreaming. And then, as if reacting to his gaze, Z stirred. It stretched its tiny arms and let out a soft, chirp-like sound, almost like a sigh. Jason froze. Could it be? Could Z actually be dreaming? The idea was absurd, of course. Aliens didn't dream like humans did. Or maybe they did. Maybe this creature was different. Jason was starting to realize that Z was much more than just a lost, injured alien. There was something about it, something powerful, something Jason didn't fully understand. "Are you awake?" Jason asked quietly, though he didn't expect a response. To his surprise, Z opened its large eyes, blinking up at him. The creature sat up slowly, its gaze locking with Jason's. It didn't speak right away. Instead, it just looked at him, studying him in a way that made Jason feel uncomfortable, though he couldn't say why. Then, in a voice that wasn't quite spoken, more like a whisper in his mind, Z said, "I'm scared." Jason's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected that. It was the first time Z had communicated like this without speaking in the strange clicks and hums. The alien had always communicated in bits and pieces before, but this time, the message was clear. Jason knelt down beside the cot.
What's wrong? You don't have to be scared. I'm here to help you, he said gently, trying to calm Z. He wasn't sure if Z could understand him fully, but it seemed to react to his tone.
Z's eyes widened slightly. You're not afraid of me? The alien asked, the words coming unbidden in Jason's mind. Jason shook his head. No. I'm not afraid of you. The alien blinked, and then it slowly, cautiously, reached out a small hand. Jason hesitated for a moment before taking it gently in his own. Z's touch was soft, its small fingers cool to the touch. It seemed so fragile, like it could break at any moment.
I won't hurt you, Jason said softly, still holding the alien's hand.
Z gave a slight nod, but it didn't seem completely convinced. I'm different, the alien said. Not like you. Not like anyone you know. Jason felt a pang of sadness. He could hear the loneliness in Z's voice, even if it was just a faint echo in his mind. He wanted to help, but he wasn't sure how. He knew nothing about alien biology, let alone how to care for one that was so different from anything he had encountered before. Where did you come from? Jason asked, his voice filled with curiosity. Z's eyes darkened, and for a moment, it seemed lost in thought. I don't know. I was sent away, Z whispered. To escape. To hide. Jason's brow furrowed. Hide? From what? Or whom?
I don't understand, Jason said, his voice gentle. Who sent you away?
Why? Z shuddered slightly, its small body trembling as if recalling something unpleasant. It pulled its hand back, curling into a ball once more. Jason wanted to reach out, to comfort the creature, but he didn't know how. The silence stretched between them, heavy and thick. Jason sat back on the floor, his mind racing with questions he had no answers to. Suddenly, Z spoke again, its voice softer this time. Mom is gone. She sent me to hide.
Jason's heart skipped a beat. Mom?
Was this little alien the child of someone?
And why did Z mention hiding?
Was the creature in danger? What kind of danger could an innocent little thing like this be in? Jason's thoughts raced faster than he could process them.
I don't understand,
Jason said again, feeling helpless.
What's going on, Z? Who are you hiding from?
But Z didn't respond. The little alien just curled up tighter, its large eyes now closed. It seemed to be retreating into itself, as if trying to block out the world. Jason was left with more questions than ever. He stood up and walked toward the workbench, trying to focus on something. Anything to keep his mind from spiraling out of control. He picked up his datapad and started scanning the ancient ship in the garage, hoping to find something, anything, that might give him a clue about Z's origins. He had to figure out who this creature was and why it was so important. As he scanned the datapad, his mind kept returning to Z's words. Mom is gone. Jason looked down at the screen in front of him, reading the alien symbols again. There was something about them, something familiar, but he couldn't put his finger on it. The door to the cabin suddenly opened, and a cold wind rushed in, making Jason shiver. He didn't notice when the door had opened, but there, standing in the doorway, was another figure. Jason's heart stopped. The figure was tall, humanoid, and draped in a dark cloak. Jason's eyes widened in shock. This wasn't a miner, and this wasn't just another traveler. The figure stepped into the room, and Jason realized with horror that it was an alien. And it was here, for Z. Jason froze, his heart pounding in his chest. The figure in the doorway was tall and imposing, its features shadowed beneath a dark cloak that seemed to absorb the dim light of the room. For a moment, the world outside the cabin seemed to disappear, and all Jason could focus on was the alien standing before him. The air between them was thick with tension, and Jason's mind raced. Who was this? What did they want? His hand instinctively reached for the wrench on the workbench, but he quickly realized there was no way a simple tool would help him against whatever threat this alien might pose. The figure spoke, its voice low and resonant, like it carried an authority Jason couldn't quite place.
Where is it? The alien demanded, its eyes locking with Jason's. Where is the child?
Jason swallowed hard. He knew this wasn't a random visitor. This alien was here for Z. He glanced toward the cot where Z was still curled up, seemingly unaware of the danger. The little alien's body trembled slightly, as if it could sense the threat.
I don't know what you're talking about,
Jason replied, trying to keep his voice steady. He didn't want to show fear, but the truth was, his heart was racing. There was no telling what this alien was capable of. The figure's eyes narrowed.
You're lying.
Jason took a step back, his gaze flickering toward the door. He could make a run for it, try to escape, but he knew it wouldn't matter. If this alien was after Z, it would catch him, and worse, it might harm the creature in the process.
I'm not lying,
Jason said more firmly, trying to buy himself some time. I found the creature. It was hurt, lost.
I've been taking care of it.
He glanced at the cot again, praying Z wouldn't do something foolish like reveal itself. The alien took a slow step forward, and Jason's pulse quickened.
What are you planning to do with it?
Jason asked, his voice tight with uncertainty. The figure paused. It's not your concern, human, it replied coldly. The child belongs to someone much more powerful than you could ever imagine. Jason didn't respond. His mind was racing, trying to piece together the cryptic words. The alien spoke as if Z were more than just a lost creature. There was something important about it. But what?
And who was this someone the alien mentioned? I won't let you take it, Jason said, the words slipping out before he could stop them.
The alien's lips curled into a thin smile, one that sent a chill down Jason's spine.
You have no choice, human.
The child is a royal heir. It must return to its rightful place.
Royal heir? Jason thought, his heart hammering.
Could this really be true? Was A some kind of royalty? Was that why the creature had been so protective of him? Or perhaps why it had been sent away in the first place? The alien stepped closer, its gaze never leaving Jason. You may think you're helping, but you have no idea what you're dealing with. The Empress will not forgive you if you interfere. Jason clenched his fists, trying to steady his breath.
I don't care about any Empress. I'm not letting you hurt it.
The alien raised an eyebrow, clearly amused by Jason's defiance. You have a choice to make, human. You can hand over the child now, and I'll let you live.
Or you can resist, and I'll make sure you regret it.
Jason's mind was spinning. What kind of power did this alien have? It wasn't just a threat, it was a promise, and the coldness in its voice made it clear that it was capable of carrying it out. Before Jason could say anything else, there was a soft sound from behind him. He turned just in time to see Z standing at the edge of the cot, its wide, innocent eyes staring directly at the alien. The little creature stepped forward, wobbling slightly as it moved toward the figure.
Z! No!
Jason called out, but it was too late. Z seemed determined, its small hands clenched into tiny fists, as if ready to confront the alien head-on. The figure's expression softened slightly at the sight of Z. It bent down to the creature's level, its voice lowering to a softer tone.
It's time to go home, child.
Your mother is waiting for you. Z tilted its head, looking up at the alien with a mix of confusion and sadness. Jason could feel the sadness radiating off the creature, and he wanted nothing more than to pull it back into his arms, protect it from whatever this alien was planning. But he knew that Z had to make its own choice. Z's voice was small but clear.
I don't want to go.
The words struck Jason like a blow to the chest. The alien's face twisted into an expression of frustration, but it didn't lash out. Instead, it stood up and took a step back, looking at Z with something akin to pity. You have no choice, it said, its tone final. You cannot hide forever. Jason stepped in front of Z, his body tense. I won't let you take it, he said again, his voice steady but filled with determination. The alien's eyes flickered with annoyance, but it didn't seem to react with violence. It was as if Jason's resistance didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. The figure straightened up, taking a deep breath, as if contemplating something.
Very well,
the alien said, its voice colder than before. If you insist on interfering, then you will learn the consequences. Jason braced himself, unsure of what the alien would do. But before it could act, there was a sudden crackling sound in the air. Jason's body tensed, his mind scrambling to make sense of the noise. In a flash, the alien was gone. There was no trace of it, no sound of movement, no change in the air. It was as if the figure had vanished into thin air. Jason blinked, confused, but when he turned to look at Z, the creature was standing still, eyes wide, as if in shock. What just happened? Jason muttered to himself, still on edge. Z trembled, its tiny form shaking. It wasn't supposed to be like this, Z whispered, its voice distant and hollow. Jason felt his heart sink. Whatever had just happened, whatever was going on, it was far more than he could have ever expected. There was a deep power at play here, and Z was at the center of it. But for now, he had no answers, just more questions. Who was that? Jason asked softly, kneeling down to Z's level. The little alien didn't answer. It only looked at him, its eyes filled with a mixture of fear and longing. And as Jason sat there, the weight of the situation pressed down on him. He was caught in the middle of something far bigger than he ever imagined, and he didn't know how much longer he could protect Z. Jason sat motionless, his mind reeling from the strange turn of events. The alien had vanished without a trace, leaving only a lingering sense of unease in its wake. Z remained quiet, its small form trembling slightly as it stood in the corner of the room. Jason felt a mix of fear and helplessness. He knew one thing for certain. This wasn't over. Whatever that alien had been after, it wasn't going to give up easily. Z, Jason started, his voice gentle as he approached the little alien.
What's going on? Who are they?
Why are they after you? Z didn't answer at first. It just stared at the floor, its antennae drooping slightly. Jason crouched down in front of it, trying to catch its gaze. He needed answers, but Z seemed lost in its own thoughts, as if the weight of the situation was too much to bear. Z, Jason repeated softly, his hand hovering just above the alien's trembling shoulder.
I won't let them take you.
You have to trust me, but I need to know who they are and why they want you so badly.
Finally, Z looked up at Jason, its large eyes filled with sadness and confusion. I don't know, I don't understand it either, Z said quietly, its voice barely above a whisper. I was sent away. I was supposed to be hidden. Jason's heart sank. He had a sinking feeling that this was bigger than he had ever imagined. It wasn't just about a lost alien child. There was something far more dangerous at play, and Z was at the center of it. He couldn't even begin to understand what it meant for an alien to be hidden away, to be sent away from its home, from its family. Why? Jason asked, his voice barely audible. Why were you sent away?
Who was trying to hide you?
Z hesitated, its eyes flickering with uncertainty. My mother, the alien started, then paused as if struggling to find the right words. She's the Empress, the one they were talking about. She's powerful, but something happened. She had to let me go. Jason's mind raced. The Empress, the alien had mentioned a mother, but now he understood what it meant. Z wasn't just some innocent alien. It was the child of an empress, a royal heir to an empire far beyond anything Jason could comprehend. But why was it hiding? And why was it so important that Z be protected? Before Jason could ask more questions, the door to his cabin suddenly slammed open. He spun around, his heart skipping a beat, and saw the figure standing there again. The alien who had been here before. But this time, the figure wasn't alone. Behind it stood several more aliens, their eyes glowing with a strange, otherworldly light. They wore dark armor, and their presence filled the room with an oppressive sense of power. Z immediately took a step back, its body tense, clearly afraid. Jason moved to stand in front of it, his protective instincts kicking in. He wasn't about to let these aliens take Z without a fight. Stay back, Jason shouted, his voice firm but his hands shaking. The leader of the group, the one who had spoken to him before, stepped forward, its eyes fixed on Jason with a cold, calculating gaze. You've made a mistake, human, it said in a voice that was low and threatening. You should have handed the child over when we first arrived. Now, you'll pay the price. Jason stood his ground, trying to ignore the overwhelming fear that clawed at him. He wasn't going to let them take Z. He couldn't. The alien's gaze turned to Z, and Jason could feel the tension in the air as the alien reached out a hand, its fingers outstretched as if to take Z by force. Z shrank back, but then something surprising happened. The alien's hand stopped mid-air. It was as if some invisible force was holding it back, preventing it from moving any closer. Jason's eyes widened in disbelief. Z's small body began to glow, a soft light radiating from its skin. Jason stared in awe as the alien's hand trembled, unable to reach the little creature. Z's eyes were glowing now, too, the soft light growing brighter with each passing second. No, Z whispered, its voice stronger than before. You can't take me.
I won't go back. The room seemed to hum with energy as the light from Z's body intensified.
Jason's heart raced as the aliens in the room hesitated, their expressions shifting to something between surprise and fear. The leader's eyes narrowed as it raised its hand again, this time with more force, but it still couldn't move closer to Z. Z was powerful. Jason had no idea what kind of power the creature possessed, but it was clear that it wasn't as helpless as it had seemed. There was something ancient and terrifying about the energy that radiated from the alien, something that could stop even the most advanced beings in their tracks. The alien leader growled in frustration, its voice laced with anger.
You are no ordinary child, it spat. You think you can defy the will of the Empress? You are nothing. You belong to her, and you will return to her.
Z's light flared again, pushing back the alien's advance. I don't want to go back, I won't, Z cried out, the words echoing in Jason's mind. Jason was stunned. He had known that Z wasn't ordinary, but to see it like this, to feel the power emanating from the small alien, was something he could barely comprehend. Z wasn't just a child. It was something far more important, and its refusal to return to the Empress was more than just a simple act of rebellion. It was a statement of power, a power that even these formidable aliens couldn't easily control. The leader of the group stepped back, its expression shifting from anger to something more calculating.
So be it, it said, its voice low and dangerous. But this is not over. We will be back, and we will bring you in one way or another.
The group of aliens turned and left as quickly as they had come, disappearing into the night, leaving Jason and Z alone in the cabin. Jason stood still, his body trembling with adrenaline, unsure of what had just happened. Z was still glowing softly, the light fading as it slowly sank to the ground, exhausted. It looked up at Jason, its large eyes filled with a mixture of fear and sadness. "I didn't want to fight," Z whispered, its voice barely audible. "But I can't go back." Not to her. Jason knelt beside the small alien, his heart aching for it. He had no idea what kind of situation they were in, but one thing was certain. Z wasn't just some lost creature. It was the heir to an empire, and its fate was tied to something far bigger than either of them could understand. "I'll protect you, Z," Jason promised softly. "I don't know what's gonna happen, but we'll figure it out. Together." Z looked up at him, its eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and fear. "Thank you," it whispered. And in that moment, Jason knew that no matter what came next, he couldn't let this creature go. They were in this together, and whatever danger was lurking out there, they would face it as one.